This week, Martin Lawrence did an interview with ABC's Good Morning America to celebrate the legacy of Black comedians during Black History Month. During the interview, Martin revealed that it's been a while since he laughed so hard he was stomping his feet. Martin admitted the last time for him was during Def Comedy Jam. Now, Martin's answer sparks a debate and makes us wonder if comedians of the past were funnier than the comedians of today. Today we have our comedy hype analysts, Yamanika Saunders and Pierre, calling in along with very special guest, comedian Wellington Ojukwu, to give their thoughts and reactions. But first, let's take a look at this clip.
When was the last time you were stomping? Because I know that's a big thing for you. If we ain't stomping, it ain't really that funny.
That's been a while. Nothing has got me to the stomping since Def Jam. The stand-up, you get that feedback right then and there because their energy. They make the show. They know what's funny and what's not.
I want to dive right into this one to get you all's reactions. Pierre, I'm going to come to you first. You know, what's your reaction to it? Do you and your reaction to Martin, but also, do you feel like Def Comedy Jam comedians were just funnier than what we're seeing today? Why or why not?
First of all, let me give a shout out to everybody. My girl Yamanik, I didn't know we were doing an ode to our favorite rapper, so she got that Missy Elliott Let It Work video. Let me put my Onyx. I guess I gotta do Onyx since we all doing our situations. All right. So look, I love you, girl. Love the style. Yeah, there is a difference. When I started, when I did Def Jam at the beginning, you have to understand, a lot of those comics were veterans at that time. There were comics that would put in 5 to 15 years of comedy. Bernie Mac had been around a long time, like 17 years. Steve Harvey, a lot of the comics, I had even been around 5 years. So we didn't have too many new jack comics. So we had a chance to marinate our career, our act, get our act together and work it for years and years and years. So by the time you saw us on Def Comedy Jam, it was the first time you maybe seen us, but we've been around a while and we really worked our act. Some of these young cats, because they're trying to, just microwave it really quickly and put another show out like that. Some of these young cats nowadays, they only been doing comedy for a year or 2 or 3. It's not the same as going against somebody who's done a comedy for 5, 10, 15 years. It's no different than, your mother making a soup, and she puts it in a crock pot to marinate for some hours compared to going to Benihana. They chop it up and put it in front of your face within 2 minutes after they made it. It's going to taste different. So that's the same thing with a comedy. I think that's the only reason that these young cats are not having a chance to be seasoned by the time they've been thrown on a national, platform. And we had a chance to be that. So that's the little difference of it.
Absolutely. Do you agree with Martin that the last time to feel that funny where you're just stumping was during the Def Comedy Jam era?
I can see that because the energy was different. The comics aren't is vocal and they don't throw the same energy now. Nowadays, you see some comics sit there and talk to you about a joke for like 4 or 5 minutes. It's like, you ever went down the street and you was walking and then you seen somebody, come on, back my time, it was like, come on, let's go. The audience was expecting that, the energy. They're like, come on now, bring it. We here for you. We here to bring it. And we felt like we had to bring it with energy and punchlines and hit it hard. Nowadays, it's not the same. The energy is totally not different. You see every comic standing still. Let me tell you what happened. It was a shift. And I remember Def Comedy Jam was so popular and it started messing with white people's comedians' money because they were bringing black comics into those mainstream white comedy clubs that the white comedians were getting pissed off. And I remember them always saying stuff like, look at those comedians. All they're doing is singing and dancing and jumping up and down. And it made a lot of black comics feel uneasy and saying, look at it, y'all not clever, y'all just jumping around. So now I started seeing comedians start to stop being funny and energetic and start bringing it down to just sitting there like the white comics do. Hey, have you ever noticed that, boom. And that's how it started bringing that energy down. You don't see that many comics, young comics with that kind of energy. Not saying there's not any of them, but not as many.
Absolutely. Yamanika, let me bring you in. Same question. When I want your reaction, do you agree with Martin that, the last time that funny stump was during the Def Comedy Jam era, but also, do you think the comedians back then were just funnier than what we're seeing today? Why or why not?
I mean, Martin's one of my favorite comedians, and, when I got into comedy, it was, he was one of the people that I admired. So he did everything. He was multifaceted. So he not only did stand-up, he also did characters. He incorporated characters into his situational comedy. I think, I totally agree with everything that Pierre said. So I'm not going to make my comment long. But I think just to add to that, we're in different generations want different things sometimes. And I think some of the stuff that I see these younger kids laughing at doesn't necessarily appeal to me, but I see them stomping at each other and I don't know why. So I don't want to impede on what people think is funny, but yeah, I mean, we don't have that sort of like run around a comedy anymore where somebody make you jump up out of your chair and run around, go high five, slap, because the styling of comedy has evolved into something else, not something better, but something else.
Absolutely. Wellington, let me bring you in as a younger comedian too in this conversation. I'd love to get your thoughts on this, but also, do you feel that like there's opportunity for comedians to come up the way that Martin did, have his own show and seeing them host Def Comedy Jam and things like that? Do you think there's that opportunity to see a comedian today come up the way that Martin did?
One, they're definitely not gonna come up the way Martin did. Such a different era. We have so many different platforms now to come up on. Yeah, it's just different. Were the comedians funnier back then? I like what Yamanika said. It's just a different era. It's just a different funny. It's subjective indeed. But I will say this, Def Jam comedians were more acrobatic. They had more potassium in their blood. They definitely took their iron pills. They were definitely more energetic. Those were superheroes. I never seen that many splits, pelvis thrust, banana jousting. Man, let me tell you something. You could tell they had health insurance. You could tell they had health insurance because they went all the way out.
Yeah.
They went in. Whatever they did, they be embodied. Whatever they were, a submarine, they were a submarine. What was that? Those people were green. The Avengers was the Def Jam era. If anybody was anybody, the Def Jam era was some Avengers.
Well, I mean, I guess we have our very own Avenger on the show because Pierre, you were actually a part of that Def Comedy Jam era and actually being in that. So I want to get your thoughts, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I want to really break it down for the audience, for people who obviously, are young and may have not been a part of that. Can you break down what that process was like? You talked about, there being years of experience, but can you really break down the process of even getting to that platform and, establishing yourself enough to be there?
Well, let me tell you, when you got picked for that, you have to understand that was your shot right there. That was your shot of being seen all over the world. It's not like now, and you can be on a TV show, a comedy show. If you're not funny, you can go back to your Instagram and be funny back then, act a fool back then. We didn't have no other show. There was no plan B. It was all for all right there. So when you got that 5 minutes, it was what it was. You better bring it. It was like a life-changing experience. It could be a life-changing experience if you did it correctly. And many did it correctly to where they became larger stars. To this day, we remember a lot of people's catchphrases from them days. I don't know any catchphrases from today. No disrespect to the comics today, but we don't. But back then, it was a lot of catchphrases. And it was a guy named Bob Sumner. Shout out to Bob Sumner. He went around the country and looked for comedians because they did the first 6 episodes. I think it was 6 or 12, whatever. They shot like 6 episodes without airing them, and they liked it so much. The look was right, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call it when you the what?
Yes,
Right. Okay, was so well. They said, okay, go back and get some more comedians, and then we'll air them to make a full season, a 13-episode season. And I was part of it. So he came out and found different comedians around the country. He went all around the country trying to find the best comedians. And, he brought us on there, and we knew that was our shot. That was it right here. You either be funny is all out, or if not, you go right back down to the chitlin circuit and, continue to do the best you can. And I think that comics knew that. And we went all out. We went all out, and the crowd, it was expecting it. And the crowd was more amped. Now I see, it looks a little more judgmental crowd. They sit back, a little bougier, however you want to call it, to me, some of the younger ones. But back then, them young cats, we were ready for it. We wanted the energy. Even rap had that energy in it, jumping up and down, Busta Rhymes and Onyx. It was all about that energy. It was done in New York City. New York was supposed to be rough. They were like, man, you better come with it or they'll boo you. And a lot of people don't know that, but I think the first season, it was 5 comics performed. Whoever didn't do well wasn't supposed to be aired. So that was the pressure of that too. They're like, man, if you don't do good, you ain't gonna be aired. And so that was the added pressure. And luckily I was aired twice.
Yeah, no, and congratulations that. Yeah, big round of applause for that. I do a show with an Avenger. I am truly blessed. But curious, Pierre, do you know anyone that didn't get that shot? Like, were you familiar with those people that didn't get the shot to be on air?
Sure, T.K. Kirkland. There's a couple comics that didn't get a chance that I felt should have been on there. But you know, it's politics, it's reasons, whatever reason you want to call it. But there was a couple of them. From what I heard now, don't quote me 100%, but the host of it was supposed to be Robin Harris. And from people who don't know, he's hosted a place called the Comedy Act Theater, a very popular comedy club back in the late 80s, early 90s. And he was supposed to be the host. Unfortunately, he passed away. And when he passed away, Russell Simmons went to Eddie Murphy and asked him who else could be a host. You know, we got the show, you know, this idea rolling. And they threw up some names like Damon Wayans, Arsenio Hall. You got to remember back then, that was the time. And he brought up, Eddie Murphy brought up Martin Lawrence because Martin was doing a movie called Boomerang with him, about to be picked up for Boomerang. And Martin, they put Martin in there. That's the story I heard. And that's how Martin became the host.
Awesome. Well, definitely thank you for that insight. And again, congratulations on all the success all of you have. Now, as you know, on Wednesdays, we have live studio audience, and I'm really excited for the guest that we have today because he's our very own writer and comedian, Dominic Smith. So let's give it up for Dominic.
Dominic! Yeah!
So, Dom, I'm going to kick it over to you. What's your question?
Thank y'all for having me, first of all. My question, I want to start off with Pierre, since you kind of touched on it in the beginning of the conversation. But in terms of, I guess in today's day and age, we're witnessing a comedian's growth in real time with, you know, crowd work clips, stand-up clips, skits and sketches, compared to back in the day where the first time we saw a comedian on TV, they were veterans. Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey, obviously examples, doing comedy 10 plus years. So I guess my question is, because comedians can post their own clips now, it might seem like they're skipping the process when in reality they're in the middle of the process. So do you guys think that social media is ruining comedy?
That's good. That's a good question, Don.
Thank you. I thought of it myself.
Yeah. We say ruin, like sometimes do we need to see every step? Well, maybe this generation wants to see every single step, every mistake you make until you finally make it. I think you'd be kind of burnt out, if you show the whole process, every step, you might get burnt out with that comic where, like I said, by my day, by the time you saw us, we were better. And next time you saw us, we were much better because it was 2 years later, another year later. Within that time, you didn't see every little bump and bruise we made all the way up until the next time you saw us. Well, nowadays, if you see every single step, are we that voyeuristic that we need to see every step of somebody's thing? Maturation becoming a star. If it is, then it's not bad for social media. That's what you want. I like to post, if I'm gonna do stand-up or something, I don't like to post every day or every single situation. I like to give y'all a little thing. By the time you see it, it's clean and polished. I'm old school. I still want to give you a polished set or something that looks nice enough. You know what I'm saying? A mistake or two I can show y'all, but not every single day I wake up showing you every single move I make until I get on that stage or whatever the process is, to me. So it's up to the viewer. If this is what these young kids want, they want to see every step, then there's nothing wrong with it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, the young gentleman, Dom, you know, the way you executed the question, very professional. You're not a part of that stomping comedy. And that's the problem, right? Because people, if they wouldn't give somebody, I understand that, a chance, if they want to hear, niggas do this, niggas that. Remember when your grandma had to, there wasn't a lot of explanation. It's like sometimes when I go to a black church versus the white church, not that one is better than the other, but it's like the pastor say one thing and then he catching the Holy Ghost. You go to a white service and then they got everything written down. I think we're always going to be splitting hairs about what's good and what's not good. But here's something that's definitive. What people do on social media is not stand-up comedy. And I think that's where we are blurring the lines. Whatever you're doing on social media, it may or may not translate to doing an actual live club where there's an audience. What's the heavyset fella, the heavyset guy with the blonde hair? He's cute, got a cute little face. What's his name?
No idea.
He's got millions of fans on. So
Drewski?
Yeah, is it Drew? Yes, Drewski. So right, so he was just asked to go on tour. He was just asked to go on tour with I think J. Cole, right? And I guess do stand up. And one of the things that Drewski was saying is that he's now going into figuring out stand up and really learning the craft of stand up. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have millions of fans who already thought he was a stand up comedian. So I think that's where we need to get the definition really clear. You see a lot of these people who are on social media who have millions of fans, and then when it comes time for them to get on a live stage and do stand-up, they're bombing. or they're not able to evolve past whatever people have seen them do in their social media. Because some of these cats are very, very young. And then as they try to grow in comedy, people still, their audience is young. The audience still want to see them do these little pratfalls or whatever they were doing on social media. So that's the other distinction. And Well has said that too. We're at a different time. There's different places to get comedy, content. But that stage and stand up and that mic and you alone on that stage and an audience waiting for jokes is not the same thing as these people doing comedy, quote unquote, on social media for 30 seconds or less.
Wellington, I want to get your thoughts on that. What's your thoughts?
With them saying that stand up is wrong, I think, my opinion, personally, social media is one of the best things to happen to stand up comedy. It's bringing you're seeing a younger audience, never seen before in comedy clubs because they have interest because of the people that are on the social media are going viral. So you're seeing a lot of new blood. It's reviving a lot of these clubs that probably would have been done had they not had social media around where they're inviting these social media. Now with stand-up, as far as putting your clips out, a lot of people are putting out like crowd work clips and they're using it to bolster their social media, build up their fan base. And I think that's great too, because there are a lot of black comedians that are being put on right now that would have never seen the light of day in Hollywood had they not had social media to help them out and access them to a crowd that wanted to see them. Hollywood is always behind, easy. They're always behind when it comes to the comedians that are actually moving, shaking, and really bringing something new to the table. They're always behind on that. We're the last to get picked when it comes to festivals. They're looking for a certain type of comedian, one that stays in the mark, one that just delivers the jokes flat-footed. They would prefer you be more of a writer than a performer and a writer. If you move your hands one too many times, you out of the running. If your hand go this and it do this, when you deliver that joke, they're like, nah, we want somebody that's just gonna stand there flat-foot, deliver it. So I'm super thankful for social media because it's giving a lot of people the access to building their own fan base and then moving around and touring without the help of them. Matter of fact, social media is helping guys like Kev on stage, who's making a lot of opportunities for other comedians who wouldn't have been seen otherwise. Same thing with Chocolate Sundays. Chocolate Sundays is what Def Jam was for that era to this era, because it's exposing a lot of comedians that you would have never seen before, people who don't necessarily have a fan base for you to access them. And it's dope. I think it's dope. Like you're seeing people like Just Niche, Black Ron, Henry Coleman. Who are some of the other folks? You're seeing a lot of people that you've never seen before. Creative Hustle, which is on Tubi. And I know Tubi has got a lot of bad movies. I'm talking about some, you seeing some I'm gonna get you sucker scenes on Tubi being pulled off as something real.
Yeah.
But Tubi has got a new show on there that's called Creative Hustle. Rodney Perry directs it. You're seeing a lot of showcase of new comedians coming out of Chicago and some comedians that you may have never seen before. So I think social media has leveled the playing field. It's taken the middleman out. It has made the casting couch dustier. So we appreciate y'all. It's a lot of y'all that would be deep-throating right now if it wasn't for social media.
But you know, it's interesting. I like the way the analogy you said Tubi. I'm be honest with you, you said Tubi, which I'm trying to get a movie on Tubi. Has a lot of trash on it, but it has a little bit of a couple of good ones. Well, that's what social media comic, that's what some of the veterans are saying. There's a lot of trash out there on social media, and you're naming the good ones. Just like you're trying to do with Tubi by saying there's a couple of good things on Tubi, but the big picture of Tubi, you're saying got a lot of trash on it. Well, that's what some of the veteran comics who got good acts say. There's a lot of trash on social media. You're like you said, Henry Coleman. He's a flat-footed comedian. He don't run around. But you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't consider him a social media comic. I think we're talking about comedians who don't really have an act, who just have a persona on stage or on social media. And then they put them on tour. And it's like, where's the jokes at, brother? You know, where's that at? And just because there's 1,000 of those, that don't mean it's great for social media, for stand-up comedy, that people who go up there with no act get on stage and do their thing. It's like, okay, where's the material? We don't care. Like veterans, if you got a good act, I'm cool with it. I like Country Wayne. There's a couple comics I like, you know, that you mentioned that are social media. I'm cool with that. But have an act. Just have an act. Just let me see something. Not just, where you from? What you at? Put a dress on, arm farts or do a flip or something on stage. Like, okay, is that stand up?
To your point, there are a lot of these guys who do have acts. They're not their act, but they do have acts. They somebody else's acts. They quite a few. You might be on tour right now, Pierre, and not know it. So I understand what you're saying. Absolutely, I get it.
I think a lot of those people that you mentioned also too, they were already comedians. And see,
right.
The thing that is, and I hear this argument a lot about the industry and not letting us go through, and I deal with that a lot because I am on the mainstream, but I'm also able to do all rooms, which is the thing about me. When we say industry, we're really talking about white people, right? We're really talking about the white industry and how they move things and the big dollars and all this other stuff. They will put on people that also have a large following as well. So a lot of times what you're seeing is it still goes back to people supporting comedians on social media who are comedians so that those numbers equate back to the industry, because the industry is just worrying about business. They ain't this sort of idea that they trying to hold somebody back. If you got 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people that are already following you, they definitely will take you and try to capitalize off of that money. So we need to have also the support of people who appreciate live stand-up comedy, because there is positives and pros and cons on both sides. There are clubs that are booking people who are social media stars. And one of the chief complaints that I hear whenever I go to them is, oh, we can't have so-and-so back. You can get a bunch of people to come out and see somebody one time, but if they're not good on that stage when they go to do stand-up, these people don't want to come back and see them. And then it just makes comedy overall look like nobody's funny, because people are wasting their money when they go out to see some people who are not ready and prepared.
Absolutely, and great question, Dom. I think coming from a fellow comedian, it definitely adds a lot of value to this conversation. Now, before you head out, how can people follow you? And of course, what do you have going on that we can keep up with?
Mr. Dominic Smith on all social media, and more content coming out on Comedy Hype.
Awesome. Give it up one more time for Dom.
All right, Dom. Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Smoky Stallion, for this week's Viewer Spotlight. Every Wednesday, they have whiskey and wings at Smoky Stallion Barbecue, owned by Cam and CJ Newton. They have 50-cent wings and $5 whiskey all day, every Wednesday. The address is 309 Nelson Street, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Check out their hours below, and don't forget to stop by and wash down some of those good wings with a drink of Plush Vodka. Now, before we head out, I do think it's important to, one, give our flowers to Martin, right? But also I want to extend the conversation just a smidge more. But before doing that, let's take a look at some of these funny clips of Mr. Martin on Def Comedy Jam.
Flavor Flav, look at him. Get up for Flavor Flav. I know, ain't nobody like Flavor Flav. Look, all right, nigga, sit your ass down. This is my show. Flav, you can't f with me on the mic, man. All right, you crazy, but I'm crazy too, motherfucker. Flav so ugly, roaches do like this. Daddy! Can I get a little lady to dance with me? Can I get somebody there? Oh, hold up. Bring that motherfucker. Come here. You my sister, I love you. Come here. I'm saying, though. I'm saying, I know Big Bird out of business, but what the f*** is that? You know you on TV now with this motherfucker. Everybody gonna go, look, they go Big Bird, y'all, they gonna hurt. Here she go. What's your name?
Denise.
Okay, to Denise's son, tell mama don't wear this shit outside no more.
Man, definitely a good time to be alive for sure. Wellington, I'm going to start with you on this one. You know, Martin talked about not stomping since the Def Comedy Jam era, so I want to ask you, what was the one time that Martin made you stomp?
Martin made me stomp a couple of times. Like Martin, even when he did the joke with the young lady that came on stage, Big Bird, and he called her Big Bird, she had a yellow suit on, I was laughing at that. I mean, now I was like, man, she probably would have put him for SA or sexual assault or something and said he did a reach around. But that was That was funny. And Martin had a signature move too. Once he would roast you, he would do like a WWE point. And I would right now you could hear John Cena come up. Dun, 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 dun. Like Martin is hilarious. He had a lot of game-changing moves. But that was one of the funniest times. The funniest joke, one of the funniest ones that I heard, was just a simple roast. He looked at a woman, he said, "Damn, how much weave do you need?" And then he said, "There's somewhere right now, there's a bald horse in Central Park shivering." He started. So it's funny.
I love it. I love it. Yamanika, I'm actually coming to you. What was one of the times Martin made you stump? I was going to go with movies, but I like stand-up too. Either it can be a stand-up moment or specifically in a movie.
I already got mine. Because I'm a huge Martin Lawrence fan. When they asked Jerome for his player call, and he said, "Jerome in the house." I said, "Jerome in the house. Ooh, ooh, watch your mouth." And then he called the woman on the phone, and he said, "Yeah, let me speak to Teresa. Is Teresa there?" And then Teresa got on the phone. He said, "You don't know how to call nobody." And then he on the phone. My favorite, it's one of a gabillion moments. I mean, rest in peace. I'm just so happy that Pierre shared that history with us, and rest in peace to Robin Harris, who was magnificent. But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. We were so blessed to have Martin host Def Jam, because one of the most important things about a show is that host has to give energy, has to make the audience comfortable, has to make them laugh. He is their person in between. And if they can trust him and trust his funny, then it relaxes them for the other comics to come on and do their thing. So shout out to Martin Lawrence for being one of the greatest hosts of anything I've ever seen.
Big facts.
Absolutely. Last and certainly not least, Mr. Pierre, what's that one time that Martin made you stump?
First of all, I'm proud that he's a DMV native, from Washington, D.C. I grew up when I saw Martin. We were at the same comedy clubs when he was unknown, and to see how far he's ascended with his career was just a lovely thing to be, say, wow, I remember him in amateur night sitting next to me, and to see him on Def Comedy Jam. One thing I want to give it's overlooked in the lexicon of great sitcoms. I think he had one of the greatest sitcoms, and people don't know, they give it to other people and, other actors and other sitcoms, but for him to pull off all those characters, man, just, week after week was, I just think Martin was one of the greatest sitcom actors ever, and he doesn't necessarily get that props. When they say Lucille Ball or Carol Burnett, I think Martin's name needs to be put up right there next to those folks, man, because he really, really was magnificent in those characters. Moments. I was just taking a couple of them. One from Martin. When he did Karate Man, Joe, oh my God, when he acted like he about to fight every time and stop and he was about to fight, I was in tears. And I'm a comic. I see jokes come a mile away. I've been around it, but I didn't see that coming at all. And he was fantastic. That was that one. And then one time I remember so many on Def Comedy Jam. One time I think somebody was dating, I think Derek Coleman, or somebody was dating MC Light. And he talked about, he had messed with MC Light. And he said something about, I guarantee there's a lot of light at the end of that tunnel. I was like, oh, Lord have mercy, talking about MC Light the rapper. And that was a stopping moment. And so he did it for us because when we came after him, the energy was still there. And a lot of comics got a lot of stopping moments too. You know what I'm saying? So he brought that in. And I think, like I said, I heard that Robin Harris, was in the running for the host, supposed to be the host, but Martin definitely had what it took for that youthful crowd. I think Robin would have been great, would have really done good, but there's no way. Martin, it was just right. Martin was youthful. He was right with us, same age as that crowd you saw in there. And it was just perfect setting for Def Comedy Jam to do that.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to add in one of my favorite moments because we actually were able to reenact it here at Comedy Hype. It was during, of course, Martin, when he had the fake dog. Now, funny backstory, I don't know if people know, but he actually did reveal this. He actually requested a real dog. So just to know that they requested a real dog, and on set, he didn't know until right before they filmed. They brought him the fake dog. And just the way he was like responding with and Pierre reenacted that. I don't know if we're gonna play it. I'm gonna ask our editors to play it at the end, but it was just that was definitely one of the moments.
But that's something that adds to a great comic. A great comic can move on the spot and do something funny with what they got right then and there. That you can tell the difference between a comic that needs scripted and time and someone who just got the innate comedy gene in them that can make something funny at the moment. I even heard, even on filming Martin, there were times in that he ad-libbed on scenes that we wound up loving, at the moment, bam. And that's what great comics can do. And Martin's one of the greats.
I gotta say this, you reminded me of, I can't forget this one, when they went to Chichilla Island.
Yes. Oh my God.
And him and Pam, and he said, and we like to die when he said, I know it was tough for you to fight one of your family members.
Right. Oh,
I mean, come on.
So many memories. Again, I definitely want to, just send love to Martin. I know sometimes we have deep conversations, but sometimes comedians just deserve their flowers, and Martin definitely deserves his. So congratulations on all the success, Martin, and we definitely look forward to the continued success that's to come. Now, speaking of success, I have a couple of, I guess, Avengers. I'm on a show with Avengers. We got Pierre, Yamanika, Wellington. I'm blessed. So I want to know what you have going on. Yeah, Wellington, I'm going to start with you. What do you have coming up? And of course, how can people follow you?
All right. Thank you, Symphony. Thank you so much. I have a lot going on. I have a lot of private shows that a lot of you will not be able to come to, so I won't be listing those shows here. But what I will tell you is that you can follow me on Instagram at Wellington OJUKWU. And you can follow me on Facebook at Wellington JUKU. Thank you so much.
I like the news report. Energy. Yamanika, let me come to you. What do you have going on? And of course, how can people follow you?
As always a pleasure to have my brother Wellington here. I mean, doing not only stage, but social media correctly. So kudos to this young brother and all he's got going on. I got to say something about my boo, Pierre. I'm glad he got all he wants us to see his Afrocentric stuff. Leave Pierre alone. Pierre is Black where it matters.
Okay.
Okay. To the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful symphony. What a beautiful symphony we get to hear and see every week. So happy to be here with you, the young brother that asked the question, all the beautiful young brothers and sisters in the audience. And of course, we can't forget John and everybody else who puts this together behind the scenes. You can catch me at the Comedy Cellar this weekend. I'm going to be in the city a lot for the next couple months because I'm on location taping something. So come check me out at the Comedy Cellar. Next week, however, on a Saturday, I will be doing Nicole's Buyer show at the City Winery in New York City on the 10 o'clock show. So also come by. I love working with Nicole. And let me just end by saying this. Of course, you can find me at everything at Yamanika. But when I tell you, I only have a few people that I go to when I'm down. And when I was growing up, when I was obsessed with comedy as a kid and people didn't understand it, Martin Lawrence was one of those people. So I'm glad we were able to talk about Martin today and just give him his flowers.
Absolutely. Amen. Last and certainly not least, Mr. Pierre, the Avenger from Def Comedy Jam.
Y'all can follow me at Comic Pierre, that's COMICPIERRE. And guess what? I've been getting a lot of DMs, a lot of messages from people who watch this show. So shout out for those who hit me up. As you see, I respond back to you, good and bad. Like I said, you can follow me. A shout out to my people in Phoenix, Arizona, man, who came out. I told them I promised them I'd shout them out on the show, man. Thank y'all for selling out the show this weekend, this past weekend, in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you very much. It's kind of cool that on my podcast, since we're talking about Martin, I got Bruh Man on this week. So you can catch him on. He talks about Martin and some experience, how you got Martin to give him more money. So if you want to watch my podcast, it's Pierre's Panic Room on YouTube. Check it out. All the love I've been receiving from that. Thank you so much. And like I said, when I walk down the street, I get so much love from this show and my Panic Room podcast. Thank you, people. I mean it sincerely. It means a lot to me, man, that I really appreciate when y'all stop me and say, yo, Pete, keep doing what you're doing. We love what you're doing on the show. So to the family of Comedy Hype, man, thank y'all. And I'll be here again, God willing, next week. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you all for chiming in on this topic. You heard from us. Now, we want to hear from you in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Martin Lawrence revealing that he hasn't laughed hard since Def Comedy Jam? For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
In them comments.
In the comments.
In the comment section.
Do you know the comedy culture? Play Comedy Hype, the game. out now.